What's up, YouTube? I'm here doing my prediction video for UFC 232. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Brian Kelleher versus Montel Jackson. And I feel like the same about this fight as I did the first time. I feel like if Brian Kelleher can make this weight cut good, he should be able to win. I think he pushes a higher pace than Montel Jackson. I think Montel just does two things really well. His takedown defense overall is really good, his wrestling, and he fights really long. But other than that, I think Brian Kelleher just fights at a higher pace. He'll shoot for takedowns, switch it up with striking. He throws more volume, and he likes to get in close. I think his overall striking game is better too, so I just think Brian Kelleher is going to win by decision. I think he makes it grindy and dirty and wins, at least a majority decision. But yeah, I got Brian Kelleher. Next is Curtis Millender versus CR Bahazardar. And to me, CR is probably a little bit better of a striker. I think Curtis has the more height and reach, and that's definitely going to help him. But I think CR hits harder. And like I said, I think his overall striking game is better. This all just depends on if Sayer can kind of close the distance. I also think if Sayer wants to, he can take this to the ground. His ground game's really underrated, and I think Curtis Millender, he's got decent takedown defense, but if he can actually get into the ground, I don't think he's the greatest down there. I just feel more confident with CR. I think his punching power and his better grappling game are going to get this one done sooner or later. I think Curtis, he could kind of dance around him on the outside for 3 rounds. I just don't see it, though. I think CR eventually closes the distance and either clocks him with a big shot, wins by submission. So I'm going to go CR by second round, probably like rear naked choke. Next, we got Uriah Hall versus Bevon Lewis. And to me, Bevon is like a decent striker wrestler, but I just think Uriah Hall, when he's on, he's just way better than most people. It's tough to tell with Uriah Hall because it kind of goes either way with him. Some fights he looks amazing, some fights he doesn't. But to me, Bevon's just not at Uriah's level. I think even if Uriah is just mediocre in this one, he should be able to edge him out. I think his takedown defense is too good. His striking is just way better than Bevon's is. So I'm going with Uriah. I say he either wins by decision or maybe knockout whenever he can land a clean shot. Next, we got Andre Ennwell versus Nathaniel Wood. And these are two good strikers, but I think Nathaniel's got a big advantage on the ground. I think his submission game is a lot better than Andre's is. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is going to be a striking fight for however long it lasts. But once again, you never know. Nathaniel, when he got that fight to the ground in his last fight, he threw in that Darce choke real fucking fast. And Andre's been submitted a few times. So I do think that is a big possibility, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happens. I think that they'll be striking back and forth. And I think, just like in Nathaniel's last fight, he'll surprise us, get a takedown sooner or later. And when he does, I think he's going to just be on top of Andre, beat him up, and win with a choke. Probably like a rear naked or an arm triangle or something like that. But I'm leaning towards Nathaniel Wood. I think he wins by submission in like the second round. Next, we got BJ Penn versus Ryan Hall. And at this point, BJ Penn's probably done. I mean, he's just fighting the fight. I think this is the easiest fight he could get. Even though Ryan Hall is undefeated in the UFC, he has a very predictable game. He's not a great striker. He just throws a lot of kicks. He always tries to pull guard. And, it kind of depends on the judges because the way Ryan Hall fights, he can lose just because he spends so much time on his back. I mean, his last fight against Gray Maynard could have easily went to Gray Maynard. I think, it just depends on BJ. If he can just kind of avoid the guard and just be above him and kind of kick him and then just punch him to the body kind of and stay on the feet, should be able to win. Like I said, I feel like Ryan Hall has got a very easy blueprint to beat him. Just kind of don't play guard with him and just make him, lay there on the ground, and you should be able to win. So I got BJ winning by decision. Next is Douglas Silva versus Peter Yan, and these are two high volume strikers. They're not one punch finish guys, but they can finish people if they just put the beating on them. They've both got phenomenal takedown defense, and this fight is super tough because it's basically just who can out-volume the other guy, and both these guys have phenomenal volume. I'm leaning towards Peter Yan. I just think he looks a little bit better, but like I said, this is super tough because these guys fight the exact same way. But yeah, I also think his wrestling's good enough to hit takedowns when he needs to, but like I said, I'm leaning towards Peter Yan. I think this could be fight of the night, but I think he just edges a close decision. Next, we got Kat Zingano versus Megan Anderson, and this is tough just because this fight's at 145, and who knows what both these chicks are going to look like at that weight. You know, Kat Zingano is usually 135 and Megan Anderson's a 145er, so this is her moving back up to her natural weight. I'm leaning towards Kat, though. I just think the wrestling is too huge an advantage for her. Megan Anderson didn't look like she knew what she was doing at all on the ground when she fought Holly Holm. Holly Holm's not this amazing wrestler either. The fact that she was able to take her down that easy kind of shows me that Megan Anderson's wrestling's not that impressive. And Kat Zingano is a really good wrestler. I think that, you know, Kat is going to hit those takedowns sooner or later, and when she does, I wouldn't be surprised if she wins by rear naked choke. I think her ground game is better than Holly Holm's is. And I just got Kat Zingano winning by decision or second round, like rear naked choke or something like that. Next, we got Andrei Arlovski versus Walt Harris, and this depends entirely on if Walt Harris wants to take this to the ground. If Walt Harris shoots for takedowns, he'll probably win by decision. If he keeps on the feet, it could go either way. I think that Walt Harris has the more diverse striking style. He throws more head kicks and shit like that, but I think Arlovski's just the better striker overall, technically. I do think it's going to be a stand-up fight, and I think it's just kind of who lands that big punch first, and I'm leaning towards Andre. I just think his boxing's better, and I think Walt Harris, you know, just willing to strike with him, is going to eventually end up in Andre's favor. Like I said, I think his boxing's better, and I think sooner or later he gets in on him with like a big right hand or something like that, and just wins by knockout. So I got Andrei Arlovski by first-round KO. Next, we got Chad Mendes versus Alexander Volkanovski, and to me, these two guys are the exact same. They're boxer wrestlers. I just think Chad Mendes is better at both. I think his punching power and boxing technique are overall better than Andre's, or Alexander, I mean, and I think that his wrestling game is also better than Alexander's. I think they both like push this forward pressure fighting pace, and like I said, I just think Chad Mendes is better at both, and I think that he's either going to win by decision or TKO later. Like he's got better punching power, better boxing, better wrestling. So I got Chad Mendes winning by at least a 30-27 decision. Next, we got Ilir Latifi versus Corey Anderson, and I think Ilir Latifi is going to win this one pretty easily. I think that his overall wrestling game is much better than Corey's. I think that Corey's just the bigger, longer guy, but boxing-wise, Ilir is much better. I think his wrestling's much better. Like, Corey's bigger than him, and that might help him against Ilir. He might be able to hit a takedown, but Ilir has never been taken down in his UFC career. Like, I think he might have gotten taken down once, kind of, but was up instantly. So I don't even know if it counted. Like I said, his wrestling's amazing. Like, Ilir Latifi, his only thing is he's been caught a couple times. He got caught with that body kick against Jan Blachowicz, and he got caught with that knee. I don't think his striking's as good as the two guys that knocked out Ilir. I think Ilir's the much better striker in this fight and the much better wrestler, and I think sooner or later he's going to catch Corey with one of those big overhand rights or like left uppercuts. So I say Ilir wins by first round knockout. Next we got Carlos Condit versus Michael Chiesa, and at this point I feel like Carlos Condit's kind of done. Like, I like Carlos Condit a lot. I hope he wins, but he's realistically not. I think it's going to be exactly like when Carlos Condit fought Damian Maia. I think Michael Chiesa is just too strong of like a wrestler jiu-jitsu guy at this point. I think fighting at welterweight, he's not going to look as drawn out, and I think he's going to look stronger. I think it's going to be, like I said, just like when he fought Damian Maia, Chiesa's going to take him down pretty early, take his back, and win by rear naked choke. And that's just that's the only way I really see this fight going down. I think Chiesa wins by first round rear naked choke. Next, we got Chris Cyborg versus Amanda Nunes, and this depends entirely on how much punching power Amanda Nunes has. If Amanda Nunes can hit Chris Cyborg like how she hits chicks at 135, this fight could go either way. But because I haven't seen Amanda ever fight at 45, I can't rely on that. I think Chris Cyborg will be able to just push her against the fence and beat her up. I think that she's not going to box with her out in the open. I think she's just going to push the pace on her. She might even use her wrestling a lot just to wear out Amanda Nunes, because I definitely think Cyborg's got the much better conditioning. I think Amanda, you know, her conditionings look better, but that's only because she's fighting people that aren't able to kind of force her to fight at a fast pace. That's not going to happen against Cyborg. Cyborg's going to force her to fight at a fast pace, and I think she's going to gas probably after the second or third round. And I think come third or fourth round, we're going to see Cyborg just start to light her up and either win by knockout or TKO or like take her back and win by rear naked. Like I said, I think Cyborg's the better fighter overall and better conditioned. She wins by rear naked or TKO in the fourth probably. Finally, we got Jon Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson. You know, Jon Jones is clearly cheating. He's taking steroids. I don't give a fuck what people say. I don't know how steroids work, but if you're going to tell me that steroids aren't in your system for like a year and they magically show up now right before the fight, I'm gonna call bullshit. Like, that makes no fucking sense. Either way, I think Gustafsson won the first fight. I didn't think that fight was that close. I thought he won that fight at least 3 rounds to 2, if not 4-1. I didn't think Jones won that fourth just because he landed those spinning back elbows at the end. He was getting lit the fuck up that whole fight up until that point. Yeah, I think he won the last 30 seconds of the fourth, and then he won the fifth. So, the third was close, but I still thought Gustafsson won at least 3, probably 4 of those 5 rounds. And I think the same thing is going to happen. I think Gustafsson's takedown defense is too good, and I think his striking is just better. Jones could wear him out. Obviously, he's not going to get tired because of the steroids, but other than that, I think Gustafsson's probably going to win by decision or knockout. As long as he doesn't get caught or just outworked, he should be able to win. So I got Gustafsson winning by second or third round knockout. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.